It's time to dial in some delicious Steve Lukather-inspired tones. Let's do this. Howdy everybody, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new to the channel, then you're in for an absolute treat today, because to celebrate the arrival of my second Sterling Luke guitar, look at this thing, purple sparkle. It is so beautiful. I thought it was time to actually dial in a Steve Lukather tone. So what I did was I actually went onto the internet and I found an image of his actual amp. So today I'm doing things a little bit different because I'm going to use Steve Lukather's actual settings. Let's go over to FM9 Edit and I'll show you how I dialed this in. Alrighty, Premier Guitar actually did a rig rundown with Steve Lukather some years ago, and I found the video and I took a screenshot of his actual amp. This was pretty cool to do. It's the first time I've actually done this to see if I can recreate that sound within the Fractalverse. But this was so cool to do because I got a good screenshot and I could zoom in on it and check all the dials and see where they were at, so that I could then go over to FM9 Edit and see if I could do the same thing in FM9 Edit. So this is my very simple chain that I have set up. I've got an input here, I've got the threshold on 0. That's the way I like to do it, because personally I don't like the way that noise gates actually affect the tone just a little bit, and this isn't a massively high gain tone anyways, so it wouldn't have made too much of a difference if I took it off. All right, in the amp block, what I have is the Euro Red modern amp. Now he was actually running the blue channel in this screenshot here, and you can see it down here. Red channel is here. But what I found was there just wasn't enough gain for me. Personally anyways, I needed a little bit more juice. Hey, this is my JP Lukather tone. But that's okay, we're here to experiment, right? I also added the boost in as well, but I did keep the gain low. So what I did was I replicated his dials on his amp within here as well. Let's have a listen to the tone first, and then I'll walk you through this. That is such a lovely dynamic tone to play. It's very different from my usual tone. Now, usually I have a lot more gain. If I go to one of my other presets, like my quick rod preset, you'll see how much gain I usually play with. It's a lot more. So playing this was really interesting, but it was also a lot of fun as well. So like I said, the amp is the Euro Red Modern, and I have this on channel A within the amp block. I've got the gain at 2.53, so it's quite low. If I take the boost off, you'll see how low it actually is. There's still quite a lot of pep to it, but it's so dynamic to play. I like it with the boost on because then it just pushes it just ever so slightly more. I'll show you the boost in a second, but let's have a look at the tone dials. So the bass is at 3.55, the mids are at about 3.5, the trebles are around the same as well, and the presence is about 4.3. This is just where his dials were on the amplifier, on the blue channel, like I said. And the master volume is at 8.19 as well. Now on the boost, what I did was I just used the shimmer drive, and there's 9 dBs worth of boost there. So it's just pushing the front end just a little bit more. I just liked the way that that sounded. And then in the dynamics, I actually upped the dynamics to 5 because I like to do that, and it makes it feel much more bouncy under my fingers, and this has a really nice effect. I do this on all of my presets. When I went over to the cab section, I did something which I haven't done before, which is I used the impulse responses within the FM9. Usually I'm using the Dyna cabs, but this time I wanted the Bogner cab. So I've chosen the Bog ST-H150 57, which is a 57 mic, an SM57 mic on one side, and I also chose the 121 mic, which is a Roya R121 ribbon microphone. So this is a classic combination of microphones, and I balanced the levels of these mics out by leaving the level on the 57 at 0 and then putting the level of the 121 at -8.34. Then what I did was I actually added a preamp, the vintage at high quality, just added a little bit more pep to it. Then I added some room sound as well because I wanted it to sound quite airy, like it was in a room. Then I went ahead and added a delay, which is the SDE 3000 style delay, which is in my blocks library, and it's this EVH dual delay which I use. I use that one all the time. I love the sound of it. I've put the mix at 13%, so just a little bit there, and a nice reverb as well. This is the London plate, and it's at 20% mix in there. I wanted that slightly wet sound. Luke seems to have it, so hey, you know, if Luke can do it, we've got to do it, right? So that was my first rhythm sound. Now, when I go over to scene number 2, I've got a slightly different sound. So over in the amp, I've actually used the Euro Red channel here. The EQ is actually fairly similar to the other amplifier, as you can see here. And then in the Ideal, I've added the boost in, and it's the same shimmer verb, but this time a little bit less boost because on the amp itself, I've got more gain dialed in. So this sound is a tiny bit different. So let's have a listen to the first rhythm sound. Then let's go over to the second rhythm sound. So still that quite mid-rangey sound, but a little bit more saturation going on with this sound. The cab is the same, and the delay and the reverb is the same as well. I left all of that just the same as the first rhythm sound. The really nice thing about setting up the amp with the gain this low is it's so responsive to your volume changes on your guitar. So I can play with full volume. When I back off on the volume, it does clean up. And then you have everything in between. So when I wind it up just a little bit, so you can get all those nice Lukeisms in there with just your volume control. I love that about this setup here. I don't usually do it like that, but this is so much fun to play with because it is so dynamic. Now I wanted to dial in some lead sounds as well. So when I go over to scene number 3 here, I've got my lead number 1. I've used a drive pedal in front of the amp, and the amp that I'm using is the Euro Red Modern, and in the preamp section you can see that I've turned the booster off, and the drive that I'm using is actually the shimmer drive. It's just a different mix of this shimmer drive. And the reason I did this was so that I could adjust the tone if I needed to as well. At 5 it just worked, but I could dial in a little bit more drive. So rather than the drive being at 0 and the level being at maximum, which is essentially what the boost within the amp section does, I could dial in a little bit more drive this way. So it drives the amp a little bit differently. So if I play with this one, you'll see it's got a little bit more pep than my rhythm sounds. A lovely, lovely lead sound there. Still, we've got all that mid-range there. That's the thing about the Luke sound that I discovered. That's how the amp sounded. I just copied the settings from that image that I saw. Now, I did change the delay and the reverb. What I did was I used the same SDE 3000, but the levels up a little bit on that. And for the reverb, I used the London plate, but I backed it off. So there's more delay and less reverb. I did have a second lead sound as well, which is the regular Euro red amp, but with the boost on and the drive pedal on as well, just so that I could have a second lead sound. So this one sounds like this. Beautiful, beautiful tones there, and such a simple setup. You can see my chain here. There's not too much going on. Now, for the track that I did need a clean sound, but I had to create a new preset because I'd used up all of my amp channels here, because between all of the different scenes, I actually used up channels A, B, C, and D because the lead channels needed slightly different gain structures from the actual rhythm channels. So what I did was I created another preset, and this is my JP Luke 2 Clean, and this is my chain here. So a little bit different stuff going on here. So the amp this time is the Euro Blue, so less gain going on here. There's only 2.38 on the gain here, and then the bass is at 2, the mids are at 3.5, the treble's a little lower at 2.3, and the presence is 6.86. I wanted it to be a little bit brighter, so I added in a little bit more presence there. I added in a compressor at the beginning as well, because this is a clean sound that I wanted on here. The cab is the same. It's the Bogner cab, the 57 and the 121. Then I added a nice chorus, which is the Dimension 2. I basically left this at stock settings. Added the enhancer, which is the classic enhancer, which gave me a nice stereo spread. Then I did something quite special. What I did was I did a pass-through to the reverb, but then I did 2 different delay blocks here. So the delays that I used were the 2290 with modulation. Now, the reason I did 2 different delays is because the delay time is different. So if you have a look at the time here, on one side, which is the right side, it's 462 milliseconds, or a quarter note for the tempo, which is 130 BPM. But on the other side, I have a dotted eighth. So I have a different delay going on here. And then the reverb that I used was the London plate again, and a little bit more mix on that. So let's take a listen to this one. How beautiful is that? I absolutely adore those tones. I'm so glad that I did this, because these sounds are within my Fractal FM9 library now, and I can use them anytime I want. A fantastic tone to complement my new guitar here. This really needed a good Steve Lukather tone to play with. I'm so glad I dialed this in, because that tone is so dynamic. It's really responsive to the volume changes, because there's not too much gain going on as well. So it's just fun to play, and it sounds absolutely amazing also. The preset is available on my Gumroad page. I will leave a link in the video description and the first comment as well. So do go and check it out if you're interested in having a play with it. Alrighty guys and girls, this was so much fun to do. I always have a lot of fun playing with my Fractal gear, and when I'm dialing in tones like this, It's just absolutely amazing. Slightly different today because I actually used that picture from Steve Lukather's actual amp to dial in the tone. All right, if you enjoyed this one, you know the drill. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification as well. Do give it a like and a hype as well. And leave your comments. Let me know what you thought of those tones that you heard today. All right, it is time for the full track. Man, I had fun doing this. Look, I can't play like Lukather, but hey, I gave it my best shot. I came up with a riff which was kind of like Lukather-esque, right? Enjoy it, and I'll see you soon with another one. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.